now it is time for our student panel. Allison Grubbs from Fall 2015, who works in our office, has organized the panel, and she's invited her guests, Alexandra Cook from Fall 2016 Rome. Oh, it's a lot. There is a spring Romer. Moira Quinn from Fall 2015 Rome, and Seamus McGuire from Spring 2016 Rome, and Joe Griesbauer from Fall 2016 Rome. The panel may come up.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, so this evening our panel will be discussing safety, academics, campus life, independent travel, and spiritual life. Ms. Davies has already introduced our panelists, so we'll just go right in. And feel free to ask questions at the end. I'll ask our panelists a few questions just to kind of like get your minds going. Sometimes people who apply for the Rome semester don't really know what to ask at first, so we'll ask some frequently asked questions. So with respect to academics, Alexandra and Moira, what advice would you have for the students who are concerned with balancing academics and travel throughout the semester?
My advice would be to not kill yourself trying to get the same GPA that you're going to get here. There's a library here in Irving, and it's just really not worth it to live in the one in Rome. You should take advantage of the city as much as possible. What I wish someone would have told me would be never let the fact that you have a normal day's homework stop you from going to the city. Take advantage of travel time. Between the bus and the metro, round trip into Rome is going to be about 2 hours, and that's a really good time to get some homework done. It can also be fun to go to a cool place in Rome to study.
One thing that you should probably not take completely to heart, but I studied way too much. So one thing that she kind of mentioned is we have a library here, and you're in Rome for a reason. Like, you don't get to go back with your closest friends, probably ever, at least like 100 of your closest friends. And so if it goes between like staying up an extra hour or two to finish your homework, if you could go into the city, do it by all means. Like, please do it.
Thank you. Okay, so you will have a few opportunities to take one-credit courses along with the core courses that are offered in the Rome program. And one of those is called the Dallas Volunteer Program. And Seamus and Moira did that both their respective semesters. So could you tell us a little bit more about that experience?
Yeah, so the Dallas Volunteer Program, or DVP, was it was a lot of fun. What you do is you're basically paired up with some Italian students from the area. So for my year, we were paired up with high schoolers, so like 14, 15 years old. And they would be bused onto our campus, and we would basically spend an afternoon with them, like teaching them an English lesson. So we'd go over American culture or vocabulary, and teach them a little bit about English, and then we would just hang out with them and play volleyball or ping pong or whatever it was. And it was just a fantastic opportunity to get to understand Italian culture a lot better, because you have to hang out with these Italian teenagers, and my Italian vocabulary got a lot better during those experiences because I learned all of the like cool Italian slang, and I'm still friends with some of them on Facebook, and it's a lot of fun to see what they're up to still.
I was with my friend Kelly Kuzma, and we were both, like, you get a partner leader, and you just have, like, a group, like Seamus said, like 6 or so people, but they're really fun. Like, I don't know if you think back to when you were in high school, like, you're kind of awkward, but you're kind of trying to be cool around older kids, and so it's a lot of like that. They're really just, they open up to you, and they tell you what it's kind of really like, and they would tell you random things, like where the amusement parks you should go to near Rome are, or, like, what food places you should go to, or they would ask you questions about your life. And that's, I feel like, when I really learned about Italy, because a lot of times you're traveling outside of Italy, and so you don't really get to know about like the small towns, like what Italians really do. And so that was really cool.
The other 2 options for one-credit courses are Survival Italian, which is as it sounds, and then People and Places, which a faculty member from the Rome campus will take you into the city, a different location each time, and give a quick lecture. And then transportation back to campus is on your own, so you have more time in Rome. You get a free trip into Rome, and then on your way back, that's up to you. Okay, Joe, what are ways of taking advantage of the study abroad semester in Europe as a whole, not just
So along the lines as they were talking, going into Rome, I would say, was one of the funnest things you could do while you were there. You know, you're stuck on campus. You just got back from, say, Spain or something, and to get out of class earlier in the semester, at least from my experience, you would try to get your homework done, and you'd sit out and you'd read, and you'd spend a lot of the afternoons just on campus. Well, towards the end of the semester, you began to realize that, yeah, you were traveling around Europe, but you lost a lot of the experience of Rome itself. So I would say, especially in the beginning of the semester when you're reading, you're just getting into the courses, you may not understand exactly how easy, how hard it's going to be for you, but push yourself and, go out into Rome. Like Alexander said, read on the buses, get that experience so that later in the semester you're not rushed saying, oh, I miss this church. We talked about this church in class and I've never seen it. I really want to go. So I would say make sure you go out early. Another thing I would say is take advantage of before and after the semester. You don't have school, so you're free. You can travel during the days. You can do all this fun stuff. I went to Ireland for a week before school started, and it was one of the most laid back, relaxing things, and a great transition into the Rome semester because they speak English. I was able to travel. It was kind of almost like a break where you could get used to traveling, reading bus schedules and stuff like that, without worrying about, oh, I got a test next week, I got to study for, I got to get back before class starts, kind of thing. It was a lot easier to do, and I have some friends who stayed in Rome after the semester, where it was just like, I miss these things. Now I can just relax and enjoy the Rome atmosphere. So.
Great. All that to say in summation, you're in Rome for a reason, so don't neglect your studies, don't not go to class or something like that, but just remember that your studies are going to be enhanced by visiting the actual city that you're in. So try and keep a balance that way. Okay, so independent travel. With the amount of technology that we have, pretty much all of us have a smartphone or something like that, and there are some great apps that you can download on your phone before you go on your own semester. So apps like the Ullman app, if you have not heard of that, that's a map app that downloads the city map, and you can tag places that you like, and it'll save that, and it doesn't use data. It'll just be downloaded on your phone. Good websites to use are, thank you. They're on the website, so Becky's going to try and find those for us, so you can just see them, like how to spell them and things. Skyscanner. Yeah, sure.
So download Ullman tonight, because it takes forever to download it on the Wi-Fi in Italy. So it's fantastic to have it beforehand, and the app itself takes up 2 megabytes of space on your phone, so you aren't going to be missing out on anything. But if you have it before you go, even just months in advance, it's going to save you a lot of time. And I know on my first night in Rome, I ended up in Velletri, which is a couple of hours away from campus, because I did not have a map. So you'll save yourself a lot of worry and not be stuck out in the middle of nowhere at 3 a.m.
It's kind of fun just to browse. It's a map, but you find cool places. Skyscanner is another website that basically just check it out for yourself. It's for flights, and they're cheap. But you can find all of these helpful links to different videos about Europe and budget traveling. That's always a good one. Currency exchange. So go ahead and find that on their website. I think it's pre-departure links. Okay. The importance of being flexible. Alexandra, do you have any comments on planning travel weekends?
My biggest word of advice would be to bring a cell phone with service. I did not do this, and it turned out very badly. You're just going to end up missing friends who want to meet up with you or having worse things happen. I went to Sweden with one of my best friends, and neither of us had phones with service. So we went to our Airbnb that was out in the suburbs. We had the address, but when we got there, it turned out that we didn't have the apartment number. So we had to go back to the main city, get Wi-Fi, connect, and then go back and meet up. So it can just lead to a lot of problems. And it's definitely good to have service and not just spend on Wi-Fi. Another thing I would say would be limit the size of the groups that you travel with. I did a lot of my trips with 1 or 2 friends, but I'd say that 5 or 6 is a really fun size to do. and very large groups can be very disastrous. I went on one of my southern Italy trips with about 20 friends, and it was problematic because people naturally want to split off and do their own thing, but then other people want to know where everyone is and keep track of people, so that can be hard. We ended up leaving someone on an island, so you just don't want that to happen. So keep it smaller.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, this is probably the most frequently asked question. Moira, where did you go on Tende, and what were your favorite parts of Tende?
I went kind of different route. A lot of people do the same, like main Europe places, but in the beginning I went to Ireland for a couple days with some of my friends. We went to Dublin and Galway and the Cliffs of Moher. And I don't know if just because I'm really Irish, but Ireland is great. It's a very fun place to be. I highly suggest it. After that, we went to Prague, which is a beautiful town. It's like you're in a little dollhouse kind of, which is really cool. And I would suggest, like, wherever you go, going on a bike ride tour, which sounds kind of lame, but when you do it, you'll be so happy you did, because you get to see like the main parts that you wouldn't normally see, and random information you'll learn. Like, I went and this tour guide taught us, and he was from Prague, and he just like told us all these really cool facts, and he told us how one part of the town, like, Hitler was going to destroy, but then he saw it and was like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful, like, I'm going to save it. And so just because of that, like, Prague is still a beautiful city today. And I had no idea. No one ever told me that before. You probably will never hear that again unless you get to the same tour guide. But just little things like that are really exciting. And after that, I went to Vienna, and one of my cousins lived there. And one really cool thing is reach out if you have connections. Like, if you have friends staying in other countries or different cities in Italy, it's really fun because, I don't know, it's scary. After a while, I got really homesick, and so just seeing my random cousin that I don't really talk to here, but seeing her over there was just like, oh, hey, like, what's up? And then also, I ended my trip in Munich with a bunch of friends. Everyone, you may have heard, not everyone, but it's a thing that some people enjoy to do, is to go to Munich at the end and meet up and then share 10-day stories with each other, and it's just kind of a fun thing to do. So that's also really fun.
Thanks. Okay, Seamus, do you have some more general tips about transportation and traveling on your own?
Yeah. One thing that I would tell you to do is kind of plan ahead, because tickets are a lot cheaper if you buy them like 2 months in advance rather than the night before. And I know we had issues where we thought one person had paid for and reserved the apartment we were going to be staying in, and they thought that I had done it, and then it was a mess, and it was the night before, and we had nowhere to stay, and we were arriving in Sardinia the next day to not have anywhere to stay. So just make sure everybody in your group is on the same page, and that's where traveling in a smaller group really works out well. If you have like 4 people, 5 people, it's going to be perfect. It's much easier to communicate, and you'll be able to make sure that you have all of those reservations and tickets down.
Great. And not only will you be traveling on your own, you'll also be traveling as a class. And sometimes those are the best class trips because you have your professors, and you're also learning about the place that you're in. And Joe has a great story from Greece that he would like to share.
So while on travel and also with meeting up with your friends, I would say try to reach out and talk to the local people, because, you know, obviously they can tell you a little bit more and stuff. And, you know, you might find them when you're out at night, you know, at a bar or something like that, or it just depends. You know, sometimes you just have to, you know, push yourself and go out and, you know, just say, I'm going to go explore and, you know, see what's around the corner some of the times. And so the one time, it was while we were in Greece in Meteora. And so it's an area of Greece where it's just mountainous regions, and you got these monasteries on all these mountaintops. And so it was beautiful. We got to bus up there and stuff, and then we came down, and it was about an hour and a half until dinner. And so me and 2 of my other friends were like, well, we got an hour and a half. Let's see if we can reach one of the mountains and go see a monastery and come back down before dinner. And so it was really fun. It was a great trail. We asked one of the locals about it. We saw signs for it, and they were like, yeah, it's just, you know, it's right out that guy's backyard. And so we're like, oh, okay. And so we go up this trail, and on the way down, we're like, oh, we better hurry. We got like 15 minutes left. So we start running, and as we're running down, these 3 like 11, 12-year-old boys start running down behind us. And so they're like, you know, kicking rocks and stuff and playing with each other, and they would come running down. And so by the end of it, they just like pass us and, yelling at us in Greek. And we're like, oh yeah. And so I kind of raced the guys down. It's basically the story. And the one guy beat me down there and stuff, and he was celebrating and stuff. So we started talking to them. And I still remember the one guy's name. The guy that beat me down was Christo. And so they could speak pretty good English. And so they were telling us about their school and stuff like that. And they said they climbed the mountain every day. It was just like, we had come up the mountain, it was like, wow, it was a beautiful sunset. We were like so in awe and stuff, like the beauty's everywhere. And these guys were like, yeah, afternoon I got homework and I'll go to bed and go to school tomorrow. And it was just really cool to see a different perspective and stuff like that. And to see, how they live their lives and how good they are at English and stuff. And also, how sociable they are, and to meet new people, younger people, high schoolers, college students also. They just love to, meet Americans. They like talking to Americans, and a lot of people know English, especially the younger ones I think are learning it a little bit more, and they really want to reach out and talk to you, and it's a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, a lot of Europeans do know English. And so don't shy away from the locals. But also, if you can, try to learn in every place you go, like a please or thank you or a hello, just to show them that you appreciate their culture and that you are trying to make an effort and you don't just expect them to learn English for you, if that makes sense. So I have a brief word on safety, which I think you'll hear about more in all your orientation and, also when you arrive in Rome. But you should travel in groups, as we have already said. And ways to not look like a tourist, because there's not a lot of like violent crime in Europe. It's more petty crime, so like pickpocketing and that kind of thing. And there are ways to avoid that. Don't wear shorts. Shorts are not really a thing in Italy, men or women. And so that's how they point you out, is like, oh, you're wearing shorts. And then you can avoid pickpocketing by just keeping your money close to you, and kind of like girls, like if you have a purse that's on your side, just bring it in front of you as you're walking instead of behind you, that kind of thing. Yeah. Okay. So campus life is a pretty neat.
And one more thing on that, I would say, like, especially if you have a wallet or something, and especially on trips, I carried a double fold wallet instead of a trifold wallet, because it's thinner, so you can put it in your pocket. It's less noticeable. And the other thing I would say is to put it in your front pockets. Like, don't put your cell phone in your back pockets. A lot of the people that I know that got pickpocketed, which was only like 2 or 3, but it was always either in their back pocket or they like set it down beside them. They're like their cell phone. Like, never do that. And the other thing is, if someone that looks suspicious, you'll get a little feeling if they're a pickpocketer. They'll kind of come walk up to you and try to do something to you. But just like immediately turn them away. Don't try to talk to them. Don't try to just be like, no, and just kind of turn and move like away, and don't try to confront them. Ryan Reedy got his phone stolen from him because he had it sitting there, and they held out a piece of paper and then they snatched it underneath his. So just keep it on your person and in your front pocket, I would suggest.
Yeah, thanks. It's subtle, but just be aware, and then you'll be fine. So the campus life is quite different from here on the Irving campus, because it's so small and all the buildings are connected. So Seamus, how does the dynamic from peer and student and faculty relationships change on that kind of campus?
It's definitely a very different feel from like the main Irving campus. You kind of have a step up when you come from high school to college, where you get to know your professors in a much different light. And then you have another massive step up when you go from Irving to Dewey Santi, where all the professors are living over there with their families. They're traveling with you, and you see them 24/7. You eat in the same cafeteria, and you get to know their families very well. And take advantage of that opportunity. Like, sit down with your professors, sit down with your English professor, and have a conversation about a book you read in Lit Trad 1. Or when you're sitting on the bus and the Western Theo Trad professors on the bus as well, just talk with them about the exam next week. And then definitely try and babysit for the professors. It's a good way to earn some extra money. All the kids on campus are fantastic, and it's just great to know the professors that well, and they may invite you to dinner They have pizza fornos, so it's a good way to get some free food out of it as well.
Thanks. Okay, Moira, can you give us an example of a time when the community felt especially strong throughout campus?
Well, I will say one thing really quickly, what no one told us before. The first week and a half or so when you get there is like the hardest week of your entire life. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen like 6 Days in Hell, like on History Channel, like of the Navy SEALs training and stuff. But it is kind of like that, where like you're going on nonstop, you're like nonstop sleeping, and you go to bed at like 2 a.m. and you wake up 5 a.m. to go to the Vatican with the whole school. But that's like the best part. And that's what I think I miss most about it, because just like those long nights when you're studying, everyone is kind of suffering together. And it's just this really weird bonding experience. Like, you look around right now and you may not know half these people sitting next to you, but by the end of the trip, you're going to know what they look like at their worst and at their best. So that's kind of good too. But but it just really changes you, and it makes you appreciate what you have for when you have it. And now I wish I could go back and do those sleepless nights all over again. But those times when you have the test, they were very long nights, and the cap bar lines were also very long. So just keep that in consideration. But just be grateful for when you get it. It's a good time.
Cool. Yeah, they're test nights. Look forward to those. Okay, so Rome is an experience that's not just about seeing as many places as possible, though it may have sounded like up until now. It's a unique opportunity to spend time with your friends and to build relationships with those people. And it's also Rome, the place of our faith. And so there are unique opportunities as well to grow in our spiritual lives. Alexandra, why, let me just preface with this. The retreat that is available to both men and women once per semester is a silent retreat at the retreat house that Pope Francis just went to recently. So you're in the presence of the Pope, kind of, not really. Alexandra, why is the retreat worth attending instead of using that weekend to travel again?
Yeah, I really, really loved the silent retreat weekend that we had. I think about 90% of the girls in our class ended up going, so it was a really cool just bonding time for us girls in the community. Also, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. It's right over Lake Albano. As Ellison said, it's the place where the Pope goes for his retreats, which is really cool. And it's at the very end of the semester. If you're someone who usually goes to daily mass and that kind of thing here, you'll probably find that you haven't been doing as much in Rome. Just there's so much going on, you're really busy, and it's a really good time to give your time back to God. And you're also probably going to be pretty mentally and physically exhausted as well. And there are curfews, so you can't leave the building, so that forces you to catch up on sleep. And the fact that it's silent, you get to do some thinking on your own. And it's just a really nice weekend. I would definitely recommend it.
As you can see, the website is quite full of information, so please don't neglect to visit that if you have any further questions. Okay, Joe, could you talk about some of the rather unique and exciting experiences? Unique and exciting is like the two best words to describe any experience that you had on the Rome campus. So you'll hear those a lot when you get back, and you'll find yourself using them a lot when you get back. So those experiences that helped you strengthen your faith while in Rome.
So while in Rome, when you travel to the Vatican on the first day, you'll realize there's religious everywhere. But in a particular way, there's the North American College. And so that's seminarians from North America, United States, are going over and studying in Rome. And so they'll come to campus on a couple different nights. There was 4 of them last semester who would come and visit, and they'll just help out at Mass, and then they'll come hang out with us for dinner. And so I got to know those guys pretty well, and in particular, one of them. And he was a very friendly, outgoing guy, and good Irishman, of course. And so he would invite us out to the bar that they went to, and he would say, you know what, we should have a discussion. I'll rent a room out. They've got the room. We get the room reserved, and then I just want to sit around with some guys and just talk some theology. We're studying the big fundamental truths here in Rome, and we're taking these Latin classes and Italian classes, you know, it would be fun just to sit down and, you know, talk with some fellow, you know, college students and to talk about, you know, some of the social or religious issues of the day. And so I thought it was a great idea, you know, to get into the city of Rome, to visit with some of the other people who are studying, but they're studying for a religious reason, and to get their viewpoint on some of that stuff was really inspiring. And, you know, it was theology on tap, we called it, and then we called it Theo Tacos because they had Taco Tuesdays, so it was $1 tacos. So it was just a great experience to get to know those guys, and they invited us up to the tower on a couple different occasions, and it just looks right into the Vatican. It's like right on the hill above the Vatican. It's just a great view of the city. I also got to know Father Brown. Father Brown's a very genuine character, and he works at the Papal Observatory up on Lake Albano there in Castel Gandolfo. And so I got to know him, and we, you know, talked to him. I went to confession with him and developed a good relationship with him. And being a fellow physicist, he invited me up to the observatory one day. And so he took me, I got up to go, and I got to see the telescopes and stuff and all the cool stuff they had up there on the lake. And then he just took me around Castel Gandolfo, and we ate lunch and had just a great day. And then he took me after that to the Papal Gardens. And so I got to drive around the Papal Gardens. You couldn't get out, but because technically I wasn't allowed to be there, but he was, you know, as a personal guest of his, I was allowed to drive through the Papal Gardens with him, which, you know, you see the pictures of like Pope John Paul II in some of his later days, pictures of him praying in a Marian grotto. I got to see that grotto firsthand. So it's just a great experience to get to know those religious who are there, who know the city of Rome, but who also want to reach out to you. It's a great way to take in the city of Rome. So.
Yeah, the great thing about UD is that, or the Catholic community in general, is that you'll have a lot of connections that you probably didn't know you had in the Vatican. And like Joe just told us, there are a lot of cool places that you probably couldn't go otherwise. So definitely get to know the priests because they're cool, not just because they can get you in places. But okay, Moira, lastly, can you tell us the perks of having a chaplain accompany the class on group trips?
I can, and I will. So basically every class trip that you go on, a priest comes with you, kind of just so you have it available to you. And a lot of times you go places where there's not always a church. They're going to have to accommodate for all of us. And so it's really nice. And it just so happened that one of the priests was from my hometown, and my grandma's kind of very close with priests for some reason. But he knew my family really well, so that was really cool to get to know him, because my grandmother suggested that we know him, and it was really nice. But then another time when we were in Venice, so I'm just going to admit, I'm a sinner. We're all sinners. If you live on earth, you're a sinner. But one of the really good things was that having those priests with you is that confession is always available. And one of the things you're going to learn is that when you're in Rome, your faith is going to really grow and prosper. And whether you're religious now at all, or you are religious now, but you'll just realize how it'll just exponentially grow. And so you become accountable for your sins while you're there. And one time when I was in Venice, one of the priests I was like, can I go to confession? And he was like, yeah, of course. So we just walked out into this bench, like in this beautiful park right on the canal. And it's just such a life-changing experience when you realize that you can do bad things, but then God's going to forgive you wherever you are. So that's just a great, beautiful moment. You cry.
Thanks. Okay, so just some last general tips, if you have any that you would like to add. Do you have any that you'd like to add?
I don't know if any of you are considering traveling before or after the semester, but I did both for a week, so I can give some advice on that. If you're thinking of one or the other, I definitely recommend going before. As Joe was saying, like, you're kind of there for the first time. It's fresh. You don't have any school. And it's just really exciting. My trip at the end, we just finished finals. Everyone was exhausted. Everyone wanted to go home. People were kind of done with sightseeing. We still got a lot done, but I would definitely recommend traveling before. Another thing I would recommend would be to see the countryside if you're outdoorsy at all. A lot of people just end up hitting all the big cities, and when I look back on my Rome semester, I spent most of my time in the cities, but some of my best times were definitely when I went to the countryside, when I spent days on little islands in Sweden and Ireland. So I'd recommend doing that. Get out of the cities.
This is the last time I'll speak. But one thing that's really nice is to just kind of keep a list of the places where you go. And I know a lot of people say journaling, but once you get there, you'll realize it's really hard to keep up with your journaling. And so even if you just keep a list of like places you went to or things that you saw for just like 3 or 4 words a day, you'll be able to go back and look at it, and it's just really awesome to be like, oh my gosh, I went to like 1,000 places while I was here for 4 months. That's really awesome. And then one thing, I think I have a shopping addiction, but spending money is a marathon, not a sprint. And so just be able to balance out your money throughout the whole semester. And because by 10 day, I realized like I have no money left. And so I also stayed after in Portugal, but it was kind of hard because by the end I was like scrounging up little penny euros, which don't really do anything, but just be aware of your money spending.
And one of my biggest pieces of advice that I can give you is to just take a few seconds to just breathe. Find time during the semester to just relax and take a step back from everything. Because the semester is very, very intense, and you do a lot. You go and see a lot of places. You learn a lot throughout your time in Rome. So experiences like the retreat that you can go on, or just going out in the countryside and just sitting on a bench in Rome and just taking a few minutes to think, it's going to add a lot more depth to your semester. Because like when I had those moments like sitting on top of the Alps, and I finally relaxed, and it like hit me. I was like, oh my goodness, I've been doing so many things the past few months. Like, this is such an amazing opportunity for me. I'm so blessed to be able to be here. And then moving forward from that, I was so much more excited to go see more things and do more things. And then I had another moment of rest. I was like, oh my goodness, I have so much more to do. And then, so just like relax and find time out of your busy schedule to take a few minutes to breathe.
Great. Thank you so much. Do we have time for questions or? Okay, if anyone has a question, we can take 1 or 2 right now. But if you have questions beyond that, you can just reach out to any of us. Yeah, email me. Yeah. Yeah.
If you have a question for one of them in particular, email the Rome office and we'll get you in touch with them.
Great, I guess we covered everything, right? Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
We're not done. Another half hour. Hopefully less. We will try to be succinct. Okay, Seamus and Stephanie are going to talk about the student assistant position. This is a leadership position that you can apply for to work in Rome. So I'm going to let them talk about it.
I know you guys want to go, but this is like super worth listening to because it's great. I promise. Okay, so that's a picture of my year when I was in SA, and I love it, so you have to see it. Okay, so this is the most important thing that you want to know probably. It's a paid position, so you get a stipend of around $900, and that helps so much for your traveling. Like, you're towards the middle, and then you get that deposit in your check, and you're like, yeah, totally worth it. And you also get paid a little bit before because there's some training for CPR and stuff, so that's good money too.
And that training before, it's really quick and easy, but it gives you a nice little boost of money before you go to Rome, so you have some money for those first few weeks. Yeah, so you basically do a couple hours of just like training to be kind of like it's kind of like the RA training where you learn how to deal with community issues and kind of addressing your peers in a position of power. And then you have a couple hours of first aid training, so you become Red Cross certified.
So the main role of an SA is to be a peer leader. Like, maybe when you were in kindergarten and they're like, who wants to be the teacher's helper? Like the one that would be chosen is the one that, you know, you want to be an example and just be good. So this is pretty much it. And you know, like college is like kindergarten because we take naps and eat like badly. So pretty much.
So as part of your responsibilities, you spend a little bit more time in Rome than everybody else. So you arrive 2 days early and you leave 2 days late. So in those extra days on the end of the semester, you're basically setting up the campus for everybody else to arrive, or you're breaking down everything and packing up books and getting the campus ready to close down for a little bit. And in those days, you do have a lot of fun. So like in the 2 days before you arrive, pretty jet lagged on the first day, but the second day you're ready to go, and then you go out to a fantastic dinner with the RCs, and they pay for everything. So you have like a full Italian meal, and it's fantastic. It's well worth the whole entire semester's worth of work just for that one dinner.
Yeah.
And you have a dinner at the very end.
I would have done it without being paid just for those 2 extra days. I promise. People ask me, what was your favorite? I'm like, when we went to dinner. Yeah. It's actually so much fun. So during the arrival, he already talked about it. You do several things, just like set up, put books in the rooms, and it's fun because you get like a cool tour before everybody does, so you feel like you know everything when people get there. I don't know. It's cool. And then at the end, you put the books back, which that isn't super fun. I'm not going to lie, but you know, it's a job.
So normally you're on duty one night a week, and what that amounts to is you just kind of hang out in the main lobby area, the common area of the dorm. So you can sit in there, you can be doing your homework, talking with friends, doing whatever you want. But you're there, if anybody has a question or a concern, they can come to you, and then you go on around every hour. So you just walk around campus, make sure nobody's setting fire to anything or doing anything crazy, and make sure that everybody's being safe.
And I know, like, it might sound like, oh, I don't want to be sitting there on duty when I'm in Rome. But honestly, you need time to do your homework, so it's so good that you can tell your friends, like, no, I have to go on duty and work on a little bit of homework and just settle down. It's actually a perk.
And then another requirement, so in Rome you'll have 4 long weekends. You can use those to travel or explore the city of Rome. And so each of the essays will be required to stay back on one of those long weekends. So honestly, I stayed back for 2 long weekends. I would recommend spending time in Rome and getting to know the city very well. And even while you are back on duty during those weekends, you can go out and explore the city and go see different sites and just come back before you go on duty.
Yeah, I spent 2 long weekends in Rome, too, so you're in Rome, get to know it. Okay, you're also on duty 1 or 2 nights on program trips, so when you go with your group, but you get to choose at the beginning, so they showed you the calendar, and then you talk with the other SAs, and you're like, well, I would like to stay this one night, and it's just in the night, and you check people in when they arrive to the hotel, and it's also nice because you're super tired, and again, having that time to kind of just sit down, check people in, check that everything's okay is good.
So the normal duty times are 9:30 to 11:30 p.m. on weekdays, and then 9:30 to 12:30 on weekends. So during that time, you just have to be in the lobby and then going on around every hour.
We, the essays meet every Monday and have Monday lunch, just so you talk. You talk at lunch, and that was really fun too. You just talk about what's going on, if there's any concerns. You talk with the RCs. And you also have office hours, which means you just help the RCs with anything. Like, I remember I did a lot of, like, the test booklets that we have here. Over there, you have your own. Like, it has the seal of Rome and stuff. They're actually really cool. So we kind of did that, and packets and things like that.
Yeah. And then if you just take a look around and look at how many people are in this room and think about every single one of these people trying to go and get lunch at the exact same time in one line. So if you're an SA, 1 day a week you get to jump that whole entire line and go to the front and get your lunch. So you get the best pick of the vegetables and the food for that day, and you don't have to wait in line before you go to your Monday lunch meeting.
Yeah, because class is dismissed, and they're like, okay, class dismissed, and then it's lunch, so the whole classroom runs out. So if you're like slower like me, you never get there on time.
Yeah, and then you're
Yeah.
stuck with like grilled eggplant.
Yeah. So on trips, we also help sweep buses, just check that everything's okay. We call roll, like collect tickets, show you the way at museums.
Yeah. And then one of the traditions of the Rome experience is the Monday night meeting. So you have these huge class meetings every Monday night, and it's a chance for the faculty to catch up with you and let you know if there's any updates on anything, the different programs that are going to be going on during the week, or if there's a big travel weekend coming up, they give you details on that. So the essays are the ones who call the roll in the beginning, and you can kind of turn it into a game. So like with us, we try to see how fast we could do it. We try to get it under 30 seconds to get 111 people's names down, or you can do all different kinds of fun things.
So of course, there's some difficulties with this position. Do you want to share first?
Yeah, definitely one difficulty that you may be thinking about already is giving up your free time when you're traveling in Rome. But like I was saying before, it's really nice to take time out to just sit and relax. So it's nice to have those nights on duty where you have to sit down and you're forced to do your homework. So it makes it so that you have less work on those nights that you are free, so that you can go out and enjoy your time.
Yeah, another thing is, I mean, being in charge of people that are your same age, it's not like you're older or anything. So that scared me a little bit at first. It's like, oh, am I really going to tell my friend, like, you can't do that, and telling them. But it's really not. You're just there to make sure that they're safe, and that's what's important. It's not like you're there to make them get in trouble, but there are different stuff that there aren't here, and you just want them to be safe. And you get to know people really well. So.
Yeah. And then one important thing to point out is that you are in a position of power, but you will never be the person issuing a write-up if you are an essay. So your friends aren't going to get a slip of paper telling you that John Smith is fining them $250 for this infraction. It's the RCs who ultimately make the decision and to determine the kind of the length of the penalty. So it's never, the blame is never thrust upon the student assistants.
Yeah. And sometimes there is things that happen that you won't be prepared for, but that's the fun of it. Like, I remember the second night that I was there, I guess they were scared to go to the RA's room, like the RC's room. So their bathroom was flooding, so they come running into my room. They're like, Stephanie, it's flooding. How do we, like, stop it? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm not a plumber. But you kind of just say, okay, I'm going to fix this, so you go and, like, either wake up the RAs or just try to fix it, you know? It can be solved. But, yeah, they think that you can do everything just because you're an essay. Not really, but. Then, of course, there's a lot of benefits, like we already talked about.
Yeah. One of the big benefits is getting to know the RCs and all the staff and faculty members really well. Because you have those office hours where you're working, doing kind of small tasks for the RCs. And so you get to talk with them and get to know them really well. And then you get to know the director of student life, or Dr. Hatley. And so on that last night that you're there, you just sit around and you talk and you have a fantastic time. And you build up a good relationship with them.
Yes. That was my favorite thing, just getting to know people really well. Even like Mrs. Davies and stuff. I'm friends with her, you know, and I love just seeing them around, and I don't know, you're an important part of the program. Okay, so it does not greatly interfere with your travel. Like, as we said, you do have to stay behind. But you can travel during the day, and it really is worth seeing Rome, because you do see Rome on class trips and everything, but you kind of, I don't know, most people think, oh, we're in Europe, we're going to travel to all these places, but a lot of people really don't get to see Rome very well, so I encourage you to, like, stay in Rome. Even if you don't apply to be an SA, like, stay in Rome for a weekend. It's nice.
Yeah. And then you're also earning money that you can put towards traveling and having a better experience and eating more than just bread and potatoes. So it makes the traveling that you are able to do a lot more meaningful.
So what we look for in an essay, like a natural leader, that you're reliable, strong character, common sense.
A big part of it is just being on time. That's very, very helpful because if you have to be there to help load up the bus before everybody else and you're late every single time, you're just going to be holding up everybody and keeping them from having fun and moving on.
So a 2.5 GPA is required to apply, but 3.0 is better. But you should apply anyway because you don't know. Maybe you're awesome at it, even if you're not, your grades aren't great.
Yeah, so applications are online, and if you're interested, feel free to speak with either of us and read and start thinking about your application, who you're going to have write your letter of recommendation for that.
Yeah, so start preparing your application, and a letter of recommendation from your RA is also needed, so start thinking about that too. Okay, so applications are due Wednesday, March 29th. So you can put that date on your phone if you want, so you don't forget. And you're not turning it in like the last day, because that would be bad for Mrs. Davies. It's super fun, I promise. So fun.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions?
If you are a commuter, you can get an employer. Do you have an employer that you've ever worked for to write a recommendation for you? Okay. Yes?
There's
Should be 2 male, 2 female, usually.
another little benefit is the essays have larger rooms as well. So your bedroom is quite a bit larger than everybody else's, and you have a corner room, and they have the nicest views out in the countryside or down on the city lights of Rome at night.
Okay, so if you're interested in applying, that application is also on the orientation webpage. If I can find it down here. There we go. And we do have some abstracts of the position, paper abstracts outside that you can pick up, or you can get them online as well. And there's a paper recommendation form to give to your RA, and talk to your RA about applying. I don't think it's somewhere here. There it is. Okay, that's where it is. All right. The one more thing we want to talk about, and I promise you will be out of here in less than 10 minutes, is the flights. Raise your hand if you think you plan to travel prior to or after the semester. A lot of you. All right, you people are going to be mostly reading the information on the side that says Flight Facts Own Arrangements Info. Keep this for your reference. Raise your hand if you think you'll probably fly with a group, if you'd like to fly and arrive all together with a group on the day the Rome program starts and leave at the end. Nobody? Okay, well, that'll make our life simpler in the Rome office. You'll be making your own arrangements. But you will need to, and it's not due until April 12th, but if you do want to fly with the group, you will fill out this form. This is the flight that is the group flight based in Atlanta, but you can fly from wherever you live and meet in a hub in Atlanta, like people will fly from Pittsburgh to Atlanta, from Dallas to Atlanta, from LA to Atlanta, and then they'll all fly together on that flight that goes over to Rome and arrives Saturday morning, August 19th, and then return same way. So you would fill out this form. You would need your passport when you filled it out so that you spell your name as exactly as it appears on your passport, so your ticket matches your passport. And you can request to start in any city in the U.S. and return to a different city in the U.S. Say you're visiting, I don't know, friends or vacation, or you want to stop and visit a friend on the way home, you can do that. And then we would send this request to the travel agent, who would go in and find out what would be the cost, the additional cost to the $950 base from Atlanta, and we'd let you know that. And then it would, once we let you know, you would pay in probably June for that flight. $950 is actually a really good price for a base. It's the best we've had in 10 years. One thing to bear in mind is if you're thinking of doing the group flight, which it looks like none of you are, but if you're thinking of that, and you think, oh, I'm going to use my miles to get to Atlanta, that you can have there can be problems with that. A major problem is that if we ticket you, even though it's different flights like Dallas to Atlanta, Atlanta to Rome, it's one ticket. And if your Dallas to Atlanta flight is delayed and you miss the Atlanta to Rome flight, and that happens, if it's one ticket, Delta is responsible for getting you there and not charging you any money. If you used your miles to get to Atlanta and something happens to that flight that goes to Atlanta, and you miss your flight from Atlanta to Rome, you could be required to buy a new ticket, a one-way ticket, at the price that day, which today is, for example, $2,600. So it seems like it's really economical to use your miles, but this may not be the best economical time to use your miles. It would probably be better to get yourself that whole round-trip ticket. If you are waitlisted, we recommend that you complete the flight form and we'll hold a ticket for you, because you should not purchase a ticket if you're waitlisted. If you're making your own arrangements, you're going to need to purchase a ticket sooner rather than later. I think it's April 21st. You're going to actually have to put down your money and buy your ticket, and you got it. And we don't want to have people on the wait list stuck with a ticket that they might not use. If you've decided that you're going to, like Joe or somebody, go to Ireland, then you have to do some research, lots of research. We have a travel agent who's very helpful, and her contact information is on here. Student Universe is a good site. STA Travel is a good site for student fare tickets. The advantage of a travel agent is if your flight's delayed and there are problems, you have someone who can help you with that, but some students do that, some don't. But you need to find your whole itinerary that gets you out of the United States and to Rome by 10 a.m. on Saturday, August 19th, one way or another, by hook or by crook. And then you need to find a flight home from Rome that would get you off of campus December 5th by 1 p.m. or by, I guess we have noon there. And then you're going to have to submit your tentative itinerary uploaded on this form, in an attachment form, and wait for us to email you an approval to say, yes, this works, you're getting to campus on time, you may purchase this flight, and then you purchase it, and then you email us your purchased itinerary. And that's what you're going to all start to think about doing now, and you've got about a month to work out your plans and figure out what it is you want to do and who it is you want to do it with. Do read all this small print. Anything else that I was really planning on saying is here, but you really have to read it. There's things like, if you are on the group flight and you went Dallas, you got a ticket Dallas, Rome, Dallas, and then when you get over to Rome, you decide, oh, she said something about I could return to a different city. Well, not after the ticket's purchased. Then you can't return to a different city anymore. You have to stick with the itinerary that you purchased. You can change the dates on the group flight, but you have to pay $345 to change the dates after the ticket is purchased, which doesn't happen until July. That's one benefit of the group flight, is we don't actually buy the ticket till July, so it gives you some longer to think about exactly what you want to do. But I'm going to just tell you to sit down, really read this stuff, And are there any questions off the top of your heads right now? Because we're here, and I know it's been a long meeting, and we're in the office. You can email us with questions, or I'll stay for a minute if you have some. But I'm going to let you go now, so thank you very much for your attention.